Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew. Keith Johnson.
You know I go from rags to riches.
Alan Seiler.
Hello.
And Veronica Dashel.
You stole my line.
No, you're just hi.
Oh, you're going to sing rags to riches too?
No. Alan just said hello. And that's the same as my hi.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I froze.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, welcome back, Alan.
Yay.
You didn't miss much while you
Hey,
were
welcome
gone.
back, Alan.
How's everybody doing? I missed you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch any Star Trek while you were gone?
No, I had to take a break from that nonsense.
Okay.
That is incorrect, by the way. You know that I'm like ready for it.
Yeah. All right, Keith, do we have any This Week in Trek this week?
Yeah, three quick things because we wanted to talk to Alan about what he's thought about the last few weeks of Trek. I found a couple of these. One of them is just personal, and a couple of these are kind of cool. On the 30th of July, 1966, the final draft was delivered for one of my favorite episodes from the original series that has to do with a chair and torture and one's mind being emptied and Kirk getting it on
Yes, Dagger of
Christmas.
the Mind.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I love that episode. It's some people say it's kind of not Trek in that it's really an old school mad scientist episode.
Yeah.
Like I read a treatment one time where someone said, well, if the Federation is so perfect, how did you end up with this dude who's like supposed to be the foremost authority on mental health in the whole galaxy? And he's a psycho. I mean, he's literally got a
Right.
he's literally got a chamber of horrors, but it's just
Yeah.
a fun episode.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, love that one. This I found really wild. On July 31st, 2013, in a really lavish ceremony at Mission Control in Houston, Texas, the restored version of the model that was the Galileo 7, the full mock-up, was revealed.
Yeah.
And if y'all have ever seen this, I know you probably have on the internet over the years, you've seen pictures of some of the props from the original series. And the thing that was the Galileo 7 was pretty much like, I don't know, somebody's yard or something, and it would pretty much fall.
It was like a junkyard. That photos were circulating for years of the Galileo 7 sitting in a junkyard somewhere.
Yeah, but they finally got it and restored it, and after a lot of loving care, they finally unveiled it on July 31st, 2013, and it was one of those things where who knew? I mean, that's what we say about Trek, who knew? And the last thing I want to say that going back to the who knew, on the 1st of August, 1966, a deal after quite a bit of negotiation was finally settled between Desilu Studios and a company I did not know this was the name, Aluminum Metal Toys, AMT.
Yeah.
I did not know that's what that stood for. That was the start of models being produced for the original series. And once again, who knew? Yeah, I remember as a kid, I had a Klingon battle cruiser. I had an Enterprise. Heck, I had an Eagle from Space 1999.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Who knew that stuff was going to be so sought after decades later?
Yeah, that's one of the great deals in television. I think that they would build the mock-up for the show and in return get the model rights. And that, I think, worked out great for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that was This Week in Trek history. Now, Alan, let's find out what you thought.
Yeah, what did you think of the last few weeks, Alan? You've missed the last 3 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we had,
last
we had
2
three.
episodes.
We had 3 while you were gone.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
What were they? Lower Decks? Cloak of War?
The Lower Decks one, the Cloak of War one, and what was right before that? The
Is that Uhura? Is that
Anyway.
Uhura? With
that must have
sound?
been Uhura and Kirk. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Uhura hearing the sound that turned out to be the sentient gas or whatever.
You don't remember that one?
I have
Okay.
no memory of that one either.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was the one where you and I did the show on our own,
Oh,
and I had a mental
yeah.
breakdown over canon
That's
problems.
the one where Uhura kept hearing the sound, and then people started hearing the sound, and it was making them go crazy. And it turned out
Right.
that the deuterium station in space was basically sucking in sentient gas particles.
Oh, right. I
Anyway,
remember that now.
take it away, Alan.
I've enjoyed this season a lot. I really enjoyed Lost in Translation, but I'm going to enjoy any episode that Uhura is the focus of. So, because of that, I really enjoyed it. you know, the one that I was so looking forward to was the Lower Decks episode, and I absolutely loved every second of it.
Good.
I was so pleased with the way that it was done, with the way the actors brought their animated characters to life. I mean, everything about it was just fabulous. I absolutely loved it. And then
Awesome.
that Klingon episode, holy smokes. Good God, that was just Deep Space Nine level stuff. I mean, that was incredible. And I've said it at least once before on this show, how much more I love Mbenga this season than I did last season. He was a perfectly fine character last season, but I feel like he has so much depth and texture and layers this season that we didn't see any of last season, and I love it.
Yeah.
So 3 big wins in my book.
Awesome.
Was there one of those you thought was your fave?
I don't know. I'd have to see them all again. I love all of them. They're so different. I love all of them for a different reason. I'm rewatching them with my partner, and we're up to, I think the last one that we haven't seen Lost in Translation. So the last one that we saw together was the Spock is a Human one. So this next batch we're going to be working on hopefully this weekend.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right. Well, if you're listening on the audio podcast, let's take a quick break right here and promote a fellow ESO Network podcast show. But don't go away, because when we come back, we'll be talking about Subspace Rhapsody. So stay right there. And if you're with us live, we're going to continue on. Veronica, did you want to bring us back in with a spoiler warning?
Spoilers.
Very good.
Perfect. That's and Alan, everyone's singing but us. So there's 2 down, and we're the only ones left.
Oh, don't worry. It's
okay,
coming.
Good. Okay. Yes, that's spoilers for Subspace Rhapsody from Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I wanted to jump out first with like the big thing from the episode that's going to be on everybody's mind. The elephant in the room, which is that they called the Klingon battle cruisers Katinga instead of D7, when the D7s were from the original series, but the Katingas were from the movie era. So, I mean, did that break Star Trek for everybody?
Oh my gosh.
No.
I missed that.
That was my big takeaway.
I missed it.
All right, let's get on with the episode. What did somebody think?
It was amazing.
Good.
Yes.
Well, Veronica, I know you're going to have a lot to say about this, so please lay it on us. Tell us all your thoughts. Why did you love it?
Before you do this, to set it up, your degrees are in theater and performing arts.
Yes.
You've been watching and performing in musicals since you were a kid.
Yeah.
Like you're a theater kid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very much a theater kid. Spent every summer at the theater from like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Wow.
2 degrees in theater.
Wow, I didn't know this.
Yeah. I did my first play when I was 11. It was The King and I. But yeah, it was so exciting that they were doing this, because that was one of the things when we were doing our wrap up after season 1. We're like, what would you like to see in season 2? And I was like, I want a music episode. I got it.
Oh, you're the one.
Yay!
The one.
I don't think she's the one, but yeah.
No. We were watching the Ready Room right before the podcast, actually, and Christina Chong had actually been poking the writers all of season 1 about it, about doing a musical episode, because she's also a musical theater kid, and she was actually originally doing musicals professionally, and then she came to TV thinking, I can get in on the small screen, get some followers, and then go back to musical theater. So she was so excited about this, because this was like 360 for her. Like, she came to TV to be able to get the lead parts in musicals on stage, and here she is on TV doing a musical, because that's what this was. It was a full-fledged musical. It wasn't just randomly breaking into songs. It was a full-fledged musical.
I want to say really quickly that Christina Chong has released over the past like 2 months 3 singles on Spotify and other streaming services, with an EP on the way. So it will be out very soon. And last week on Twitter, she said that this is something that she had been wanting to do, like record an album, that kind of thing. And she always sort of lacked the confidence to do it. And it was joining the cast of Strange New Worlds that gave her the strength of character and the confidence to go in and actually write these songs and record these songs and put them out. So that's awesome. And they're really good songs. So go listen to them.
Yeah. I had not heard any of those songs prior to hearing her sing on this, so I was really surprised when she started singing. She has such a powerful and beautiful voice with such an amazing range.
Yeah.
It really surprised me, and now I'm very excited to hear that this is what she did, and she grew up like me as a theater kid. So I'm really excited to deep dive into her. So that's going to be a thing that I'll be doing.
Veronica, you and Christina Chong were born in the wrong time period. You should have been born back in the days of the variety TV show where it was like everybody was singing and dancing on everything, laughing, and Sonny and Cher and Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
Don't forget the Tony Orlando and Dawn show.
Oh, that's right.
But you also have Celia Rose Gooding, who is a Broadway performer. And, you know, if you're going to do a musical episode, this is a powerhouse cast to do it with, to varying degrees. You know, I don't know how strong a singer Melissa is, and she only got a couple of little parts. So maybe she is not as comfortable doing it.
She's a musical theater kid as well. That was in the Ready Room. She grew up in musical theater as well. Yeah.
But I think they did a good job of playing to everybody's strengths. You know, they gave Babs a couple of lines here and there.
Yeah.
But they didn't give him the big soaring number. You know, like they did. You know.
Dude, my notes I wrote, Babs was damn skipping at the end of the episode. So I could tell he wasn't a theater kid.
Right.
Or music theater kid. Let me take that back.
Well, Alan, you went to school for a music degree, unless I'm mistaken, the music school, and you're a working musician. What did you think of the songs in this?
Let's just say that I am like not a particular fan of musicals.
Okay.
I hope our friendship is still intact, Veronica.
Really?
She's married to me and I'm not, so that's fine.
Okay, there you go.
I would have thought I was the one not.
I have seen musicals that I've liked, you know, like Rent and Chess. I really enjoyed those. And then, you know, a couple of the, you know, this kind of doesn't count, but like the jukebox musicals like Mamma Mia, you know, but things that were crafted to be musicals with original scores and everything. I haven't really done that much of them, you know. And so as far as the songs go, okay, so we should say that the songs for this episode were written by Kay Hanley and Tom Pulse of the band Letters from Cleo. So that's pretty awesome. And I only learned today that she and another co-writer that she works with write all the music for the cartoon Doc McStuffins. So this is not her first foray into scoring for television.
Okay.
Which I didn't know. So so Letters to Cleo is a band that I am sort of familiar with and never really followed much of until they did an appearance on Parks and Recreation, my favorite television show ever. Anyway, that does not answer your question in any way at all. I mean, it's fine for what it is.
Okay.
Veronica, what did you think of the songs, the way they're structured, the way that I'll tell you one thing, I thought they did a superb job of character development and internal dialogue, and you got to see insights into the main characters that got a lot of, you know, like a solo song. I thought in that sense those songs worked beautifully.
They all felt like musical songs. They didn't feel like pop songs, didn't feel like country songs, with the exception of the Klingon song.
That's why I said there's one that felt like a pop song.
But they all had a very musical theater feel to me, which
definitely.
I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and like you're saying, they did a good job of hanging the gimmick around, like using it to build the characters. And I said the same thing in our Boimler episode discussion, Those Old Scientists, that they did a great job of using Boimler to inform all the character arcs that we've been watching this season and his knowledge of the future. And they did the same thing here. really advancing the character arcs that we've been watching for this season. I think that overall this whole season they've done a really good job, I think, of writing the character arcs across the episodes.
Yes.
And building those stories while the different Star Treks of the week are going on.
My only small complaint is I wish they had worked some Fosse moves into Chapel's number, because I felt like
I don't know what that means.
So the people who are theater people know that, but Bob Fosse was very big in the 60s and 70s as a choreographer.
Okay.
So it's a specific style of dance.
Okay.
All that jazz.
Yeah. If you see it and I'd be like, that's Fosse, you'd be like, oh, okay. But the tone of that song and the feel of that
Chapel's?
song. What?
Of Chapel's song?
Yes, of Chapel's song. Really brought Fosse into mind. So I wish there had been some like Fosse-esque moves and not just general jumping around dancing stuff.
That song brought Peggy Lee to my mind. I don't know anything about the choreography and stuff, but I was really surprised by Chapel. I wasn't ready for that at 4:30 this morning. That was a very memorable number. Uh-oh, we lost you, Alan. You don't have any. You're muted. Keith, what did you think?
Before you go,
Go
I just want to say that I just had a little disaster where my mic went kaflooey. Anyway, I'm fixed now, but I wanted to say I know what the Fosse reference was.
Oh, good.
I'm all with you. All right, now Keith.
Yeah, ironically, this may or may not be what people wouldn't expect. I'm a huge fan of musical theater and musicals, so I'm very well familiar with Fosse. As a matter of fact, if you've ever seen the movie Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger, his lover Valeria, I forget the actress name, Veronica, you may know, she's a Bob Fosse veteran. Oh. And if you watch her fight on the show, you can see she kind of sort of has dance moves that she's doing, her sword moves. She was actually trained to the Fosse.
Like jazz hands?
I was like, I don't know how he's going to connect Conan to Fosse. I just don't know where this is going.
He got there.
This is so funny. Michael Phillips and Vandy Beth in our Facebook. Well, Michael Phillips put a post in where he basically said he was like basically hating it, and then like 10 minutes in, he's like, "Dude, just give up the grumpy old man routine and just go with the silliness."
Yeah.
And Vandy Beth asked me, "Did I like it?" Because I said I need to be high to watch it. And coming through, I enjoyed it. It was fun and it made me laugh. And literally, this is funny. The things I didn't like about it are the things I continue not to like about Strange New Worlds. I was fine with them laughing. It was Kirk being on the ship that pissed me off.
Well, we know that. Come on.
Exactly. And so it was Spock and Chapel's love affair that pissed me off. And it was, and I literally wrote the note while they're singing. I'm writing, Jesus Christ, Kirk was flirting with Khan's great, whatever. And then the original series, he won't recognize him up front. But outside of that, I had a good time. It was fun. I did something real quick. Bear with me real quick, because despite what I sometimes may say, I'm not the guy who hates something before I go in. I give everything a chance. And there are people who just hate stuff. So I didn't actually go in when I heard a musical episode. I didn't instantly go, I'm going to hate this. I'm like, well, let me see what happens. I made a quick listing. The Naked Time, Charlie X, The Conscience of the King, I, Mud, Deep Space Nine, Babel, Move Along Home, Deep Space Nine, Dramatis Personae, Voyager, Virtuoso, original series, The Way to Eden. Those are all Star Trek episodes from the classic period where they had singing and silliness, or people's minds were changed. Do you remember the Deep Space Nine episode where every time they spoke, they say stuff like shovel in the kitchen, microwave, donut? Yep. Case in point, Move Along Home, Almaran, 1, 2, 3, Almaran. It's okay. It's okay. I enjoyed it. It was fun. The things I don't like about Strange New Worlds, I continue not to like. But I enjoyed this. But I got to say, I busted a gut at the end when Babinga looked like he was truly skipping. And I tried not to laugh, but when Spock kind of ran toward the screen and did the thing at the end, I lost it. That was just so stupid. I had to laugh.
Yeah.
He was like, but it's so close. Oh, wait,
yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing anything. Maybe if I participate, we'll get that last little two that we need.
Right.
And he put barely any effort in, as you could tell. Because I know the little bit that I've interacted with Ethan Peck, I feel like he would have flung himself into it as himself. But he definitely flung himself into it as much as Spock could fling himself into it.
And I give them credit because y'all know us. I'm a lifelong fan of astronomy and cosmology and stuff. So I often talk about the science. So when they literally said that when what's the engineer's name? And I should know. Carol
Pelia?
Talia, when she said send a song in, I'm like, that makes no sense. It's just music. It's still language. It doesn't matter. And so then when they came back and they got programmed, I'm like, this makes no sense. Yeah, I'm babbling about quantum reality, music. Literally, at the end of the day, music and voice and speaking are not, they're really the same thing. But then when they threw in this thing about, well, they hit a quantum reality where everybody speaks in song, it's like, well, damn. That'll work. It's an incredible Star Trek trope.
You had to throw away all your notes and everything. That's terrible.
What can I say? There's a quantum reality where everybody sings. Like, okay, I'll go with that.
Fair enough.
The funny thing, though, is that, normally in a musical, the music isn't acknowledged or referenced.
Right.
In this one, the characters clearly heard music starting to play when they were going into their song.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very unexpected.
Yeah, and I also add this other little touch, Alan, where because I was kind of noticing that too, and then they added that we're at the end when they get ready to do the big finale. I was like, Lord, please don't do a big finale. And so I wrote in my notes, well, why don't they just program the ship's computer systems to play music? And then they said, well, basically this quantum reality, you basically have to feel the emotion. You have to have emotional music. Like, okay, well there goes recorded music. So I agree with you. They covered every base to make this make sense in the silliness that it was.
Yeah.
So in them having it make sense in the silliness, you can't not reference Buffy the Vampire Slayer once more with feeling.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
One of the very first comments that we got in from one of the viewers, and we got a stack of them that we need to get to pretty soon.
Okay.
Jay says, I've got a theory. It could be bunnies, but at least it's not a tribble. I just want to say there was a lot of things that I, even though I'm not a big musical fan, there was a lot of things that I enjoyed about this episode. My favorite thing was them saying bunnies.
Bunnies
made me so happy.
Yes.
Look, I've not watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I've never seen Once More with Feeling.
What?
But that line from Mbenga was probably the funniest line of the episode. The way he delivered, "I'd rather not be a bunny."
Yes.
That was right up there. That was right up there with Worf. I am not a merry man.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Especially Charles, considering what Mbenga did just a week ago.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So now I'm getting scared. I'm like, well, if he sees a bunny, is he gonna slay it? I mean,
Right. Well, do we want to hit some comments?
Yeah.
Why don't we? Dan Leckie says.
Before we get to the comments, I just want to say that I have started doing TikTok, and I made a little TikTok video this morning exactly about bunnies. So find me on TikTok, DabaWoman8. Now comments.
Okay.
Okay, Dan says people have been calling Subspace Rhapsody Star Trek's first ever musical episode, but they seem to be forgetting stuff like The Way to Eden.
Absolutely.
Now, well, Way to Eden, they sing the episode, but the episode itself, I wouldn't call a musical.
Yeah.
They're not moving the story along with the music in the same way.
Yeah, there's no full-length musical in Star Trek history, but there are ones with lots of music and silliness. I mean, I Mud competes with this one for silliness.
Well, DS9 is known for being the darker of the classic Trek series, and they all turn into James Bond characters one time.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
That's another good one.
Yeah.
Dan also says that Henry Alonzo Myers was really keen to do a musical episode. The concept of a Star Trek musical episode dates back to Next Generation, which I knew, and Picard Season 1, which I didn't know.
I know there was a lot of talk around it, like from fans and stuff,
right,
in early Discovery, because so many Discovery actors are like famous musical people.
Right.
But that's go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's what I was gonna say. It is also, again, it's not without precedent, because remember that Nichelle Nichols had quite a few musical numbers in the original series. Charlie's Our New Dolly, which pissed off Charlie X, or when Tom and Riley was getting whatever the Formula 409, putting his milk when she was singing to him. So she's done some stuff.
I was just going to respond to something Charles was saying. Now I don't remember what the hell it was. It's okay. It's okay. I know. As I was watching this episode today, I was thinking, you can see Lower Decks does all kinds of stuff that breaks its own formula, and they will just do whatever they want. The Strange New Worlds formula lets you do things like this. I cannot see this ever having happened in Discovery.
No. Because the show doesn't allow it.
No, exactly.
No.
And that's one of the beauties of doing this more episodic kind of thing, is that you have the freedom to do these experimentations, these, throw a wrench in the works kind of episodes. And that would never have happened on. And I can't see it happening in Picard either.
Well, when Star Trek came back in 2017, it seemed to me like there was the attitude that old Star Trek was cheesy. So let's make it super serious, super gritty. And that carried through early Discovery and even into current Discovery, but also throughout Picard. And I feel like it was Lower Decks that popped that bubble.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Star Trek can be fun.
Yeah.
And Strange New Worlds has really run with that. And I love that we're to the point now where we're doing episodes like this.
Yeah. Let's see. Dan also says many of the roles that Christina Chong has played in other productions have failed or unrequited romances, much like what she's doing here with Paul Wesley's Kirk this season.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's see. Tiger Blade 2002 says
Wayne was texting me. It was a blast.
I knew Bob Fosse was going to come up.
Okay.
Yes.
Earlier in the conversation, Matt says Han shot first last week. Now Conan the Barbarian this week. Keith and his connections.
Right.
That's right. I did the Star Wars reference last week.
There you go.
Matt also says it does feel like they're really just making up reasons to get Kirk back on.
Amen, brother.
It's about like when Worf would just turn up like an insurrection and be like,
In the
hey,
movie,
Worf's here. Why? Who cares?
And you remember like the third one where Worf comes on and they're like, Worf, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I was. And then Picard says, we don't have time for that right now. We got things to do. And it's like, they didn't even bother to write an explanation. Exactly. I was like,
great.
Jesus, they're not even trying anymore.
Right. Yeah, it does feel that way with Kirk.
Yeah, it really does.
Let's see. Wayne says, anyone familiar with the John Ford novel, How Much for Just the Planet? Or Plant, as he says.
Yeah.
But we know it's Planet.
Yeah, I read that a long time ago.
Me too. I don't remember anything about it. Dan says, I also watched Subspace Rhapsody with an open mind. It couldn't have disappointed more, though. Terrible episode.
Oh, I disagree.
Wow.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. And I'm not a musical theater person.
Yeah.
I get drugged to a lot of them. We have like season passes for the Fox because of her. But I thought this was delightful. I had a great time watching this episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Let's
Dan,
see.
did you not like the concept or you did not like the music itself?
Well, he will answer that in a minute, I'm sure. Dan says, Spock asks what frequency a particular song had. Surely he should know that a song is a mix of frequencies, not just one. That's exactly what I was thinking. Every instrument, every voice has a totally different frequency to it. The difference in range is a different frequency. It made no sense.
Yeah, it's the very definition of harmonics. I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
He says, we'll have to agree to disagree about something. I definitely consider Way to Eden a musical episode.
So you didn't like that one either, Dan, I guess.
Well, he's saying that.
Well, no.
We pointed out that. I mean, I would say that that's not a musical episode. And he's just agreeing.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he says, I found it interesting to learn today that the first musical episode in history was an I Love Lucy episode starring Lucille Ball, who was instrumental in the creation of Star Trek, even though she admittedly didn't understand what it was about.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Well, that makes sense. If you look at Lucille Ball's history before she became Lucille Ball, she's in a whole bunch of musicals and comedies and stuff. She has just a huge filmography before the I Love Lucy show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, let's talk about some of these specific characters.
Yeah.
I guess the big thing is that, I mean, for me, is that Chapel got the acceptance from Roger Corby for
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we're getting some
She already
movement
had
on
a
that
little-
plot line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she already has a little hero worship of him too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I found really interesting is that the way that she and Spock kind of ended their thing,
mhm.
I feel like I feel like, this season Spock has been sort of leaning into his emotions a little bit more.
Mhm.
I think that this is going to be the thing that brings him more to the Spock that we think of in
Right.
the original series. I think
Yeah.
he says at the end of the episode how much he hurts. He is going to, anytime anyone is hurt, they go into protective mode.
Yep.
He is going to lean into the pure logic from this point on and become that Spock that's
Yeah.
traditional Spock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly if she comes back from this fellowship engaged.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. That might put a damper on a romance.
Right.
Maybe.
Maybe he's engaged already, so
Yeah.
who knows?
Also,
speaking of romantic entanglements, I did not expect to get a Carol Marcus reference this week.
I didn't
That
think we'd get it
was-
this week. Yeah, I was just saying on our group recently that that's all coming. Like they're not holding anything back on this canon stuff, but yeah, this was the week we got it.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool to hear that. I really enjoyed that. I like the way that they have played the I'm going to say Christina Chong's character, La'an, and the Kirk connection. I think that they, she had the thing with the alt Kirk. She, kind of had an exchange with the real Kirk. Now the real Kirk is here and she spills her guts. I knew you once before, but it wasn't you. And I liked the way he looked at me and, and then he's like, sorry, babes, I got a kid on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
babe,
he's
taking
going to be in a
away.
future movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the way they played her in this episode too, that she was ostensibly concerned about, people blurting out security secrets.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know that she personally has reasons that she doesn't want to
Yeah.
blurt out a lot of information as well. But I like that she tackled that head on and just was like, I got to stop, pussyfooting around this and just go tell him before I start singing about it.
Yeah.
Dan's,
I also really.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you go
I
ahead.
also really liked how she was the only one that went over and like cut off Pike when he was singing.
Uhura should have already hit that button.
Yeah, I literally didn't
Right.
get that either. I mean, I kept thinking somebody cut it off. Cut it off.
For the love of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Dan's comment is the songs are so plot driven, whereas I think they should have gone a bit more for a timelessness quality. They did some of that with Uhura singing about how she connects people, so that was nice. On that, I first of all, that's how musicals work. The songs are plot driven and character driven. That's what makes it a musical.
Yeah.
But when they were doing the Uhura song about connections, I was thinking, how fabulous would it be to see Celia Rose Gooding, or as I call her, CRG, do a concert where she does some of her Broadway stuff and, throws one of these Star Trek songs now that she has in her repertoire as part of the concert. And that, I think it would be just fabulous.
Yeah.
Anyway, he also says that he liked the K-pop Klingons, which I thought was hilarious, and the Carol reference.
So I didn't take them as K-pop. I took them as NSYNC.
Yeah.
But apparently that's what they were supposed to be.
They were very boy bandish.
Boy band.
Yeah.
That was, I felt like this whole episode was sort of teetering right along the edge of just falling into parody. And then that last musical number, they're like, F it, and just went over this. Because that was that was one bit where I felt like this is like a Star Trek parody with the little moving chair and they're doing dance moves with their daggers.
I felt the same way because I was kind of thinking whatever this quantum reality was, I was thinking if they're Klingons, they should have been still singing some kind of battle song or a funeral dirge or that horrible opera that Worf listens to. So I agree with you, Charles. At that point, that kind of took me out of it too.
It is funny though.
Yeah,
I will admit that. And I do like earlier in the episode they wanted to blow this thing up because it has like stolen their honor.
Yes.
And I like that. It's kind of Tribbles-ish, where like the Klingons got turned into a boy band, and now they're gonna blow this thing up.
Yeah, they're probably gonna delete all records on that ship. There's no way they're gonna let that get out.
They're all gonna have to like ritualistically kill themselves next.
Yep.
Elaine loves that they brought Bruce Horak back as a Klingon, which I loved as well. He was wonderful in those scenes. And she also would like to know if we had a favorite song from this episode. I loved the special theme and Uhura's final solo number.
Yeah, we had talked to that beforehand.
Yeah.
My favorite song was actually the one that Ethan Peck sang about his broken heart.
Okay.
Which is ironic because I really hate that plot line, but
Right.
and he wasn't the best singer. That's obviously what you call her, Alan, CRG.
Hell yeah, CRG.
Yeah, he wasn't the best singer, but I actually liked that song, which is funny because I don't like the plot, but I actually like that song, which is funny.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoyed that.
Which is actually a reprise of Chapel's song, because if you listen to it, it's the same song.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. If you listen to it, and they're basically connected, and it's basically a reprise of her song. And Chapel's song was my favorite.
Mine too.
Really?
I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah. I like Chapel's, like, for one, because it was very surprising, but also just I'm more into like jazzy bar numbers than musical theater generally. But I also really enjoyed sort of the Una's sort of Pirates of Penzance-ish.
Yeah. Her little dance with Kirk.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I thought that was good.
When Una is doing the song talking to La'an, why did the gravity go off?
She turned it off.
I know, but why?
So they could spin around.
It's that quantum reality. See,
I wonder if they did it just because of that. That's silly.
I didn't notice any plot reason for that to happen.
No, not at all. My buddy Rob
reality.
Levy says, I loved how bonkers and wonderful it was. It was a nice deviation. And hi, Rob. Rob is one of the co-hosts of the Modern Musicology podcast. So
hey, Rob.
Maybe Modern Musicology will do an episode about Strange New Worlds as musical. Anyway.
Yeah, and I agree with him. I think it's nice that Star Trek can do that. It's like with DS9 when they would throw a baseball episode in the middle of the Dominion War. You know, it breaks it up. It shifts gears in the season, and I think that's nice. Last week we had the heavy Klingon episode, and next week we got the heavy Gorn episode. I think it's nice to have the musical right in between them.
Can you imagine Discovery in the middle of like the space anomaly, just like going off to play baseball in a holodeck?
Right.
and piggyback on what you're saying, Charles, Deep Space Nine, probably the darkest of all the series, they had a 1960s lounge singer, Vic Fontaine, which I never thought would work. And what a great character he is.
Oh my gosh.
And they would have a whole episode where they're trying to like fight gangsters in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dan says Spock's song is called I'm the X.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the
whereas title. Chapel's song is called something else, but they are connected. And I want to say, so I'm the X. The song was sort of about solving equations, and instead of using the word Y, he would use the letter Y, because that's like X solving for Y, that kind of thing. And he's the X, the X in the relationship, but the letter X in the equation. And I thought that was some clever writing.
Yeah.
That was really, really well done.
Holy crap, I didn't catch any of this. That's deep. I didn't catch that. I like the song, and like in my notes I wrote, I said, I really can't stand the plot with Chapel, but I like this song, and it actually affected me. And I knew he wasn't going to be the greatest singer, but you don't ever have to be the greatest singer to have a good performance.
No, he put it himself very well, I thought.
Yeah, he really did.
And like too. I mean, neither of them are like, you've got the Celia Rose Gooding and Christina Chong, and they had the big soaring numbers. But I thought
Christina Chong's number was amazing.
That was great. That was a great song, and so was Celia Rose Gooding's.
Well, again, if you're of a certain age, I grew up in the age of Carol Burnett and Flip Wilson and everything else, and most actors back then were trained to sing and dance, but they weren't great singers and dancers. They were just trained. Yeah. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed his performance, and I know nothing. Honestly, I've been watching. No lie, I've been watching Strange New Worlds first season for quite a bit before one of y'all told me he was Gregory Peck's grandson. I didn't even know that. So I literally know nothing about his talent or anything like that. Yeah, and I kind of like to go in blind like that. It was affecting. It was affecting what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I thought throughout, I thought everyone acquitted themselves well.
Yeah,
I didn't think anyone came out there and embarrassed themselves, but they did a good job, like I said, of working the musical numbers to the different folks' strengths. Yeah.
Yeah. I've also noticed that it tends to be a trend to get to a certain level in TVs and movies, you have to be a triple threat. almost everyone that at that level is a triple threat. It's pretty rare that you can get to that level without being able to sing and dance and act and do them all pretty well.
Even nowadays, that's actually
Yep.
still the case. Oh,
It has seemed to me to be the case. It may not. It's
okay.
not always the case. Obviously, there are quite a few exceptions, but a lot of the time, you're more likely to find a triple threat than not.
That's good, because when I was growing up, people, both movie stars and TV stars, absolutely were expected to be triple threats for that very reason. So I didn't know that. That's actually cool.
And like in old days, like you basically had to ride a horse to be an actor.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And sword
that
fight.
Right.
That means that Anson Mount, he's got all the bases covered.
Right. Yeah.
It pisses me off when I find out that somebody who is an extremely good actor and you never hear them sing, and then you hear them sing and they've got this stellar voice. I'm like, why do you have all the stuff?
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And I don't,
And you're good looking too.
and you're right, and you've got the great hair.
Right.
Because I mean, I would love to. I feel like I'm like a great singer trapped in a body who can't sing. You know,
Me
I can
too.
carry a tune, but I don't have a good voice or anything.
It's funny you say that, Alan, because way back on Deep Space Nine, when Avery Brooks first sang, so many people didn't know his background. They didn't know that he has a background in music. And so I remember, whatever it was, bulletin boards, whatever it was back then, people were going, holy crap, did you hear Avery Brooks?
Right.
Because nobody knew the guy was a professor of music at Rutgers, and that this man can sing and has done it in movies and stuff. He's great.
Oh, yeah.
Matt says if Strange New Worlds could do 26 episodes per season, they could do all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, they could.
Agreed.
Yeah.
They just need to stop making those crazy costumes.
They do go. They had a feature out about the costumes of the Ready Room that we were just watching. And they still go like, they do things on the costumes that are never going to be visible on screen.
Right.
Like you're burning
No.
money.
No.
Right.
I mean, maybe if I was like walking around interacting, I might see the metallic tint to the fabric of this character. I'm not going to notice that on the screen. I can guarantee you. I mean, there are people that are going to look at the costumes, but 90% of the people are not looking that closely at the costumes.
Yeah. I know they've got to 4K proof them, and because it's pretty common now for people to have giant 4K screens in their rooms. So I get it has to be higher quality, but they pride themselves in things that I don't think they're ever going to be noticed by anybody.
No, not until they put them on the Ready Room.
Yeah, and Matt was talking about crazy episodes. I think if their intent was to top the fairy tale episode last year, I think that was resoundingly successful. I think this is a much more successful episode for me than the fairy tale.
It's funny you say that, because the fairy tale episode is the only one of the series I don't like. I mean, I actively will never watch again.
Right.
But again, I didn't go into this one going, oh great, another fairy tale. I just was open-minded, and I enjoyed it. And I find it very interesting. My wife who grew up she's the only girl with 6 brothers, and now she's married to me. And so her entire life, she's watched cartoons and science fiction and Star Trek and stuff. So she is a fan. She's not obsessive like I am. She laughed and laughed the whole time. And in a good way? In a good way. She thought it was just so funny. A couple times I was like, holy crap, I can't believe this. And she had a great time. So, I can't fault him for that.
Yeah. Maybe next year we'll get a puppet episode.
Oh, no, the puppet reality.
Well, I wouldn't put it past them.
Now, if you've opened the door to all these quantum realities, why not?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Wouldn't that be cool?
I want to be a puppeteer on Star Trek, just saying.
They can afford better puppeteers.
But we already have a Spock puppet.
Yeah, well, that's right. Hey, Charles, mentioned that Charles, you mentioned that the show was threatening to go off the rails a couple of times. When they kind of said the anomaly was spreading across subspace to other ships, I was like, oh no, it's gonna hit Starbase and everybody's gonna be singing. I was getting really nervous how far that was going.
It's a shame we didn't get to see Admiral April.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, he has good baritone, right?
Right, apparently.
Speaking of other ships, we finally have a first name for Captain Battelle.
Yeah.
She's Marie.
So what do you think? She get eaten by Gorn next week?
Right. Exactly.
Oh,
okay. Dan says, whatever happened to Spock's loot from earlier in the season? It would have been cool if it had returned this episode. I am very much looking forward to next season seeing a scene where they're in the mess hall and he has his loot and Uhura sings.
Yeah.
That's
she could
what
even
I
sing
want.
a song from this episode.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Michael Phillips says, I'd like the crazy episodes to stop altogether unless they do get a 26 episode season.
No, I like the bonkers Star Trek episodes.
Me too.
And like Next Gen and DS9 and shows like that, they had it sort of built into the premise where you could have Q show up and do that, and everyone's
Yeah.
singing, or a holodeck thing.
Holodeck, right?
You know, like Strange
Right.
New Worlds is kind of like the original series, in that they have to invent a reason every time. But I think that's good. I think that's good. That's a good thing, even if it's a CGI Watsit. And there's been a lot of CGI Watsits this year.
Exactly.
Speaking of CGI whatsits, I really enjoyed in the finale when the Enterprise is flying and the Klingon ships were like swirling around it. I thought that was really cool.
That was another thing
So-
for me where it was like they've stopped worrying about going
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
did
basically a ship dance number.
too far. Yeah.
Yes,
like
like
if-
they
if-
did the sparkles.
If you're not with us by this point, you better just get off this train.
Right. Right.
the Klingons almost killed me. The Klingon, when I saw that, oh my god, that almost killed me. That was wild.
Yeah.
It kind of did me, even though I enjoyed it. I thought it was
Yeah.
cute. I just
Mhm.
feel like, okay, so like a couple of weeks ago when Vandy Beth was on, she said something about the Spock being human episode was just a gimmick.
Yeah,
And
I felt that too.
a musical episode to me is the gimmickiest gimmick you can possibly do. And I would rather them not have done it. I
Mhm.
enjoyed what they did, but I just don't want a Star Trek musical episode. The good thing about it having been done is that now we don't have to ever worry again about whether they're going to do it. It's
Right.
already happened.
Unless they do a puppet.
Now you got to worry about them trying to top it.
Well, but so I was kind of, even though I don't really enjoy musicals and didn't
Veronica's
want
killing me.
a Star Trek musical, I was going along with it. I was perfectly
Yeah.
fine. We got great character revelations, good development and all that kind of stuff. But then when it got down to the damn Klingons going K-pop, I was like, come on. And then the ship dance number was just like, oh God, we got to stop this.
Yeah, the actual finale was a little over the top because I'm the same as you guys. At that point, I thought, well, now you really are pushing it really
Yeah.
hard. And then the Klingons is a little much for me.
You're
But then,
supposed to do that because it's the finale. The finale is supposed to be over the top.
well,
Yes,
right.
But it was a finale so that we get to 344, whatever the hells we're talking about. And I don't even know what they're talking about, but it was, I don't know.
Oh, it was something. It was something like gigawatts or gigavolts.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Gigahertz.
Yeah, it was something goofy. They were
Yeah.
basically overloading the subspace thingamajiggy.
Yeah.
The science don't work, but hey.
No, but yeah,
Oh, well, this is not an episode about science, Keith.
Yeah.
yeah. They
Right.
deliberately went over the top in that finale.
Yeah.
But by that point, I was with them. I really enjoyed this episode.
Really.
And I mean, this is one I think every Star Trek convention till the end of time is going to have a sing along
Yes.
with this episode.
Hmm.
100%. 100%. I used to be a part of not Wholanta. I used to be a part of a different convention here in Atlanta. And there was a couple of years in a row that I wanted so badly to stage a version of the Buffy musical. And
Yeah.
we had Amber Benson as a guest one time. And I was like, holy, we've got to do the Buffy
Wow.
musical and see if we can get Amber Benson to sing with us. And we never did it. And so, at this point, somebody is going to stage a version of the Star Trek musical.
I'm sure
Or-
that they're already working on it for Dragon Con
or-
because they do the Buffy Horror musical. They took a break for a
Yeah.
couple years, but they've been doing the Buffy Horror Picture Show for a while.
Or even just screen the episode with like the words on the screen, and so
Yeah.
the audience can come and sing along with it. I think this is going to be like a convention staple.
yeah,
Maybe. I'm sorry. I just don't think the songs were as memorable or as catchy as the Buffy ones.
Okay.
I will agree. The Buffy ones were a lot more memorable.
Yes. I just found some of the like melodic structures of some of these songs to be a little, I don't know. They just didn't flow like they could have. But
Yeah.
we've
And
had the Buffy musical for 15. I'm talking about in the immediate, like at that time, they seemed more memorable than these songs now do. Oh, got a couple of comments. Go ahead, Keith, and then I'm going to get
Yeah, I
a
was
couple.
gonna say it's funny how songs become memorable because I can recite songs from memory from The Way to Eden because they're so bad, like gonna crack my knuckles and jump for joy. Got a clean bill of health from Dr. McCoy, and then that
right.
that horrible that scene where they knocks out the whole crew, and he's just going out to Eden, yeah, brother. I mean, it's so bad it stays with you. So I think these were perfectly acceptable musical theater songs, but you know, they weren't so excellent that you remember them. They weren't so kind of crazily horrible that you remember them.
Yeah.
They're just good.
Yeah, I've never even seen the Buffy episode, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay, you have to go watch it. You have to.
Yes.
See it.
I mean, watch it.
You have to watch the entire series so you'll know the characters. So when they sing about stuff, you'll anyway.
The look on Charles' face, guys, is saying it all.
Yeah. Okay, so Michael Phillips says the big gimmick episode this season was those old scientists. A gimmick episode isn't something like Spock being human because he didn't need to be human for the plot to unfold the way it did. But he kind of did. It just spiced things up. Dan says this is Strange New Worlds Spock's brain, such a clunker.
You know, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, if you're gonna,
I was gonna say real quick. I think if we have between us and our guests and Facebook people, if you have 20 people opine, we have 20 different opinions about this series. It is amazing. I don't think any one of us is exactly the same in what we like and dislike.
Okay. Elaine says, "Ooh, can you imagine watching this episode at a convention, Rocky Horror style? It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Going to happen,
guaranteed."
Throwing Bert Toast at the screen.
Dan says, in the modern TV era, apparently Xena was first to do a musical episode before Buffy.
Oh, I forgot Xena did a musical episode.
Well, when did what's the comedian name? Drew Carey did a musical episode that was actually
Drew did.
Drew Carey, yeah.
You're absolutely right. I'd forgotten about that one too. And Eric Watt says, I loved it. I have thoughts. Yes, we love Fosse. All the songs were great. I have thoughts about construction of the lyrics that would probably be lost on this audience, but I appreciated what I heard. Am I the only one who noticed the Gilbert and Sullivan overtones of Una and Kurt's duet?
No.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
the very model of a modern major first officer.
Yes.
Loved the vocalizations of the opening theme. Would have been better with the classic operatic solo. La'an and Una floating. I thought that was something that cuts off.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric.
You might have to finish your thought in like a separate comment. I didn't know that StreamYard would like truncate.
Yeah, I think that's our
comments.
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so it was pretty something. I'm gonna say pretty silly. I'm just gonna ascribe that to him. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to being able to listen to the songs on Spotify tomorrow.
Yeah, I think tomorrow is when that soundtrack is supposed to come out on Spotify.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
cool.
other digital platforms.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
This has been really wild. I think a couple of comments from Dan and Michael and Matt, and I think, Charles, we talked about doing a season wrap up later on this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to come back around with Matt talking about 26 episodes and Michael talking about taking time away from better plots, and Dan as well. I think one of the things we'll probably talk about in our season wrap up is, even though they did a lot of experimentation and stuff, even I kind of put in my notes, I'm feeling somewhat of a lack of a cohesion this season. And that's not bad. That's not bad. But when you have Pike, his presence was a little bit diminished because of Anson Mount's real life. I don't feel in some ways like I'm the through lines in this season have been the love affair with T'Pring, Spock, and Chapel and La'an, but we haven't had a through line like a Dominion War or something crazy like that. So I think for some people, when you have a short season and they throw in something like this musical episode, they feel almost cheated. So I kind of get where they're coming from. I'm not saying that's bad.
But it's an episodic show. We're not going to get season-long story arcs like we do in Discovery, because that's not the way this show is structured. We get ongoing character arcs, and that was not at all interrupted. And in fact, it was deepened, I feel, by this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think these guys are looking more for...
well, they just want serious science fiction.
Yeah, they want some serious
Star
science
Trek.
fiction. Yeah, I think they want more of that.
But goofy episodes is very Star Trek as well.
Yeah.
That's as much Star Trek as anything else.
Yeah, Matt
and
Elaine have been doing their countdown to the third season and talk about a goofy song. Remember Leonard Nimoy singing Bitter Dregs and Plato's Stepchildren? That's one of the worst songs ever.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
oh really? You like it?
Yeah, I like Maiden Wine. But
That's the thing. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, there were fans annoyed back on DS9 when they took a break from the Dominion War and wasted an episode playing baseball. I mean, there's always been that sort of feeling whenever.
Yeah.
And that's
But-
when we had 26 episodes
Yeah.
per season, and they still griped about it.
Yeah,
They're gonna gripe about it
Absolutely.
no matter what.
but I mean,
Interesting.
there's things. I think I've liked every episode this season, but
Mhm.
most of my problem with the season has been them not doing things I wanted or doing things I didn't wanted, rather than the quality of the episodes or my enjoyment of the actual
Agreed.
episodes.
Agreed.
But I will say that I'm looking forward to rewatching this season once it's all complete, rather than week to week,
Mhm.
and knowing from the beginning where the character arcs are going, so I can watch
Yeah.
for more of that. Because I think that my feeling right now is they've done a great job of weaving those character threads through all these little adventures.
Mhm.
And I think the character threads are stronger this year than they were last year, even if there's some other elements of the show that I think they did better last year.
I agree, and I think if the character threads they're following don't satisfy you, like they don't me or some of the other guys, then you probably feel let down. I actually don't feel let down. Like I said, it's funny. I don't like a lot of these plots with Kirk and them, but I haven't hated it. You know, it's one of those. It's one of those where if you ask me, I go, I would have done that, but I don't hate it. You know, it's fine.
But at the same time, as Keith admitted earlier tonight, instead of just writing down, I like this song with Spock, he wrote down, I don't like this storyline with plot and with Spock and what's her name, but I do like this song. Like,
Yeah.
he had to
Well,
take
yeah.
time in his note writing to say that he didn't like the
Yeah.
romantic plot line.
Yeah, it's like I told Vandy Beth on Facebook. I to date have never watched the Star Trek series that I hate. There are, as we talk about,
no.
especially if you go on Facebook, there are people who hate watch. Fortunately, I don't hate Star Trek, and I don't hate even the ones I don't love. So that's not really been a problem for me. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here. Michael Phillips says something, he agrees with Keith about something. Even though I don't dislike the experimental episodes, and goofy episodes were rare in classic Trek in a 24 plus episode season. So he would just rather not see them when you only get 10 episodes. Like, don't waste time on those.
Yeah.
Dan says, I wouldn't mind a musical episode if it was actually a quality one. I probably would have enjoyed a TNG musical episode in like the 5th or 6th season. I feel this one was too early.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to get 5 or 6 seasons. So,
No.
I mean, at this point, they shouldn't hold anything back, because there's no guarantees with these streaming shows how long they're going to run. You know,
Yes.
if you got an idea you're passionate about, better put it on the screen now and not say we'll get that in season 7, because you might not get season 4. Who knows?
Fair point.
You know?
Fair point. Yeah.
So one last quick question, a plot question that we really haven't talked much about yet, since we're getting the advancement on the Corby situation where she's going to be going off on is she going to be leaving the show for a period of time? Or is it going to happen between seasons? Like,
I think it's going to happen between seasons, or maybe she'll not be in the first episode or something.
Maybe.
But
that's what I'm wondering too.
I think it's
because she said it was
3 months.
Yeah, she said 3 months, which in the old TV days means after the break, she'll be back. Now it's going to be more than 3 months, but I mean, who knows? Or this episode could end on a cliffhanger, and it could play out differently next season. Who knows?
I think so too, and I also thought it was interesting because I was thinking, this is a personal thing, I was thinking a super archaeological medicine thing on another planet, 3 months is not enough time. It would really be more like a year or so. But what you guys are saying, I bet it'll be between seasons, and then we'll get a lot of flashbacks during the next season as how she falls in love with Corby.
Yeah, totally. I think that whatever this thing that Corby is doing probably is a long-term thing. She's just there for 3 months of it.
Yeah,
I don't think that she's there for the entire thing. I think that she's just doing an internship, basically.
Oh yeah, I agree. I was just thinking an internship on that level. I would think it'd be more than 3 months for her. I would think.
Well, that's all that Corby wants, I guess. He only takes people for 3 months at a time. Who knows?
I am curious to see what Corby's doing, because again, from the original series, Corby and the androids, and there's that whole race called the Old Ones we always hear about in Star Trek. One of my favorite episodes of Trek, period, is What a Little Girl's Made Of. I'm very curious to see if he's even going to start getting hints of the Old Ones.
I would like to get more about the Old Ones.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. One final comment, and that is Michael Phillips says, also, since the strike has shut things down, this is the time when producers start scraping plans as they scramble to make sure everyone can return next year or the year after.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I heard I heard on the news today, I think it was NPR News, they said that some of the studio executives are kind of sort of thinking they'll get the strike broken by September
Hmm.
because they started talking and then to Gabe. But the thing is, today, the talks that they are starting right now, the first talks they've had since May. So I'm a little concerned.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee of when it's going to end, and
No.
everything's pushed back. So there's no guarantee of when not only production resumes, but completes to the point. I'm just hoping they don't start rushing things to close
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
gap, because that never yields great results.
No.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no,
Right.
and please God, no clip episodes.
Oh,
Oh my God. No, no, no.
No
No.
more. What was it?
Ever.
State of Gray or what the thing?
Shades of
Yeah.
Gray.
Shades of Gray. Oh my God. Keith, why
unless
do you?
it's unless
sorry.
it's good, because like Stargate used to have really good clip episodes.
Okay, yeah, Stargate did good
It's
clip episodes.
possible.
I've never seen a good Star Trek clip episode. Never.
That's because there's
Stargate
only
did it
been one.
really good, but Star Trek, no,
Yeah.
don't do it.
All right.
Okay. Before we go, Dan lets everyone know that author Joe Nazzaro is a member of the EST Facebook group and has a book out on Tuesday called Star Trek: The Art of Neville Page.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Great.
All right.
Guys,
All right.
we did an hour almost to talk about a musical episode of
And I
Star
feel like we
Trek.
ran out of time.
Yes.
I could have kept talking about it. But we'll still go back around to a lot of these topics when we do our little wrap up and everything. That'll be later on in the year. In the meantime, Alan, where can people find more of you?
Well, how about you go look for my other podcasts, which are Modern Musicology. We just did this week we have out an episode tied in with the MTV anniversary. We talk all about the glory days of MTV, and we have recorded our next two shows, which is a 2-part episode about the albums released in 1988, and that was a hell of a year for music, very transitional. So there was a lot of ground to cover. So those episodes are. One is out. The next two are coming up in the next 2 weeks. And then I also have another show called Doctor Who A to Z. Go check it out.
I didn't know that about 1988 in music. I always know about 1984. So that's very interesting.
Oh, well, we'll have a separate conversation about
Yeah.
about the
Very
80s
cool.
and how crazy a time that was.
All right, Keith, how about you? Where can people find more of you?
You can find me on Facebook. That's primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups, Instagram, and X/Twitter/ whatever it is now.
This week.
Yeah.
And how about us, Veronica?
Feltnerdy.com.
Yeah, and we just got our tentative Dragon Con schedule.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Me too.
We're gonna start having announcements coming out soon. We actually got approved for a show that it was sort of a long shot show for us for the puppetry track,
Yeah.
which
We're
is
really excited
the
about
most
it.
That's
ambitious show
awesome.
we've ever done.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
puppetry track thing
awesome.
makes me the most nervous because all the tracks I have fun doing, and they're always happy to have us.
Right.
The puppetry track is like a curated selection of like some of the great puppeteers from around the world. So I'm always nervous pitching to them, right? And us. After they finish, we sneak in. But no, we've got a show coming to that track again this year, which is going to be a lot of fun. Our show last year was probably our biggest turnout show that we did.
Yeah.
We like hit capacity on the room, and they had to turn people away.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to doing something this year for them.
Yeah.
And Veronica, where else can people find more of us?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
Yep. And we just finished an interview, or just posted an interview with the Monkey Men, which
Yes.
Ron McNeil, who created the Fab Four, which is the world's big like the biggest Beatles cover group or tribute group,
Yep.
has put together a Monkeys one called the Monkey Men. And Ron and several of the Monkey Men joined us on the show, and we had a great interview with them. So that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
That's super awesome. I haven't listened to that episode yet, but I can't wait to hear it.
It's
I got my tentative Dragon Con schedule as well, and I'm on 2 panels in the Star Trek track, and one of them
Nice.
I'm on with John Jackson Miller, the author
Nice.
that we interviewed last year. So I
That is
can't
great.
wait to see him.
awesome.
That's fantastic.
All right, Veronica, do you have a closing for us this week?
No. Nope.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That made
All
me
right.
think of that little bit in Tron that used to go, no, yes.
All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We go live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Join us next Thursday for the finale of Star Trek Strange New Worlds season 2.
Wow. That's right.
God, yeah, next week is it, man.
Wow.
All right. Take care, everybody. See you next time.